Hey, just wanted to make a short, quick video regarding GBP CAD. So GBP CAD, essentially, what we have is if we go to the weekly, even though I am pro long with this particular pair, and I do think it does have a lot of potential to go up, I think right now we are looking at price potentially shorting before we go higher. I think it's a short-term play, but we will have to wait and evaluate and actually just observe how price moves. Going to the daily, we did have this sort of structure. It was looking more so like a running channel. However, at this point now, we have broken impulsively. Now, there's two things that I can see that we got to this line with a structured approach, this override, and then we rejected. Now, when we did reject, we did move an impulse correction continuation, and we're forming a small correction below here, which essentially this has activated the 90% rule. So, with the 90% rule being activated, what I'm currently looking at is this, and this being the middle section now. Essentially, we do have somewhat of a larger flag over here, but there's nothing to say that obviously this can't get a little bit bigger and we see something like this before we start dropping off. However, I do think that this flag is enough for us to go short. So if I was to take this, it will be two ways. And I think this time it's a little bit what's the word? It's one of them times where I think price can go two ways. So looking at it on the hourly, there isn't really enough candles to take this as an hourly flag. However, to see a 15-minute flag here, um, it's not really. I wouldn't say it's the best sort of flag I would take on a 15-minute chart, and I probably wouldn't take a 15-minute flag here. More so, I'll take a 15-minute flag somewhere around about there. But looking at this here, I think if I was going to take it, it'd be a reduced risk, and then weighing up sort of where it would go, to 90%, it'd roughly be a 6% trade. So is that really in my interest? Because if I can get into, let's say, a risk entry with, call it, that's 15 pips, let's say, I could be looking at somewhere in the region of 23%. So I don't want to skew my risk reward because either way, I'll be risking 1%. So what I'll be doing now is I'll be observing this price and then I'll be waiting for the volatility to kick in around about 12 o'clock today. And then hopefully I can piggyback off this volatility. And if this does go short, I'll be able to capitalize and get involved in it. I think what might happen is we might see a small spike up and then push down, maybe a little retest of this trend. I don't know, but the other way I might see it is we might actually just take this volatility and push all the way back up. And if we do get some volatility and push back up, I'll look for a flag somewhere in here and then take it to the upside and then look at the continuation of the GB pairs moving long. So at the moment, it doesn't look like it's progressive in the sense to the upside, but we just have to wait and evaluate. Hopefully that, if we do get longs, it may be better, but the short does look really nice, and there's definitely some really good risk reward on the table for GBP CAD. So I'm going to pause the video and we'll come back to this shortly. So yeah, essentially we had the news. The news came out. It's now struck, and I believe the volatility has potentially began. So refining down on to the 5 minute, just for a little bit more accuracy. It's not really the most necessary. Obviously, this is the point of interest. That's the volatility. Going down to the 15-minute, there's definitely enough of validity. Then I would more so now be looking at obviously being cautious that we can create something a little bit larger as well. But for sure, I do like the fact that um, you know we've now kind of completed this and we're moving out impulsively. So we're in the impulsive run. So this can definitely move out. And if it is to follow something like that, I would be looking at potentially breaking to about here. Check it on the 1 hour quickly, and yeah, essentially we're in that run now. So probably move to about that low there. It's target zone. um, Obviously bearing in mind that this is still in this sort of corrective squeeze, so until we've actually closed out of here, I'll be waiting. But definitely the entries here, entry would have gone up, tagged me straight in here, and then I would have just set my stop loss above there and just used that as an anomaly in the market. So about 27 pips, I'd be running around about 1% on break even. I think it's contemplatable. I think I'd leave the risk open ever so slightly now that we've committed. Um, and then to the low, let's just quickly have a look. So let me just place that back on properly. Not put that in about there. And to that low, we're looking at roughly potentially around about 7%. So it's not a bad position. That would have basically been the perfect sort of entry for myself. Obviously, yeah, at this point here now, because we're at that low, I'd be putting in break even. It just kind of eliminates the risk of being tagged out again. So yeah, just about there, break even, and then I think I'll just be patient. So this one might be one to just kind of leave and watch. And then, yeah, I'll just kind of zoom it forward. So this is a live market sort of trade. And I'll be in the trade here and we'll just wait and see what happens. So I'll put it on the hourly because it's going to take its good old time getting there. So that's where I'm targeting. We are trading at that low there, but this is the low I'm targeting. So that's it basically. And I can either leave it on record or I could speed it up. I think what I'll do is I'll leave it on. Yeah, I think I'm gonna just speed it up. So yeah, so I'll pause it now and then we'll come back to the charts and see how the trade played out.
So GBP CAD is looking nice. So we are currently at 8 o'clock now. So we entered the position. We just kind of cool. This is the first sort of live market video I've made. So it was really nice to sort of, kind of just make a video of it. So I'm still a 5 minute here, so I'll just kind of jump to the 1 hour because management wise, I think the management is done. For me, it's not really worth me holding this position any longer because I am looking at some sort of pullback eventually, so I will be aggressive with my management. In terms of the position, as previously forecast as well, we did get there a lot quicker than I thought, but honestly, GBP, well, a few of the GBP pairs were phenomenal. I mean, I haven't even looked at the GBP yen yet. I know from previous it was really nice, and a couple of the guys were talking over it when Mark was, so that's pretty sick. I mean, I kind of like this a lot because I could lock in 5. Currently running around about just call it 7. I think it's in terms of management. I mean, we're coming into high spread hours soon, so this would have to just push it out. But I think we are exhausting a little bit, but in no means are we looking like we're stopping anytime soon because candles are getting somewhat smaller and the momentum is dropping. But I guess that's kind of expected with high spread hours. I think this is really nice. A solid pullback though, probably similar size to this. I mean, I could probably keep myself well protected, but I don't think I would want to, hold around about 2% when I can actually lock in around about, call it about 5.5. I'd say 5.5 is probably where I'll be at. It's a bit tight. Actually, you know what? I'll probably go a little bit tighter. Yeah, I'll probably look at it around about here, to be honest. I mean, yeah, there's a case of it kind of just corrects here, but I'm really looking at this coming up anyway. I don't really want to give much profit back to the market, but at this point, I'm not really worried about mismanagement because there's a decent amount of percentage on the table anyway, so I don't really want to give back any of this percentage because this was definitely a very strategic yet good play. And I think, yes, there is still room on the table for the run, but I have some sort of confirmations that, not confirmations, sorry, some confluences that's giving me that indication that if we could potentially pull back even further, create something a little bit larger now at this point, something like that, or even so we could large pull back. So not really the sort of price action I want to stay in overnight anyway. I wouldn't even enter a position or maintain a position at this low. So for that reason, I would be super aggressive and probably just hold it in there. If I get tagged out, I get tagged out. Yeah, about 6.5%. So I'll call it a 6.5% trade. Anything else, just lucky. But yeah, so very good trade. Just to recap over that. So if we go back in time and we look at the news, we did use this to piggyback some volatility. By no means did we um, expect price to come down this much. It could have gone either way with the volatility, but we're looking at price action because we were forming this flag and we did create this sort of, the small flag under this low. There was a high probability tying up with news that this could create volatility to create the push, and it did essentially. And piggybacking off that was really good. And then we had additional news with balance of trade, which doesn't really mean anything to me, but none of these newses do. I just know and I'm aware that they're high impact news and they can take an effect of volatility of the markets. And that's the truth behind it, really. We're just using these BOE interest rate decisions. I mean, I know during towards the end of the year we have a lot of news, and it does make the markets go slightly more volatile. Hence the reason why the markets move a lot more than a month. However, year on year and so forth. Yeah, really good position, quality position there. Really lucky and fortunate to be in here. So really good position. Of course, this could have pulled out and trickled me out, but I think where the real gameplay was is definitely not taking a risk entry there, but it was more so the entry here, not on the 5 minute. Probably could have been taken on the 5 minute, but it was taken on the 15, and the position was taken here. So it was a bit of a bullish pinball, but nevertheless, it wasn't about the bullish pinball. It was more so about, let's just check that. Yeah, it wasn't about the bullish pinball. It was more so about just protecting myself. So the position was taken on the next hourly candle. The price was up here somewhere, so price spiked up, and then I wanted to be tagged in, and then I got tagged into the trade. It did happen pretty quickly, actually, to be honest. So, these are sort of trades that you've got to be ready. But yeah, so essentially in a minute, we kind of just had this candle and then set the order, and then I knew if we're going to go back up, let the news come out. That if the news dropped off, then I would have just waited extra patient. Would have been extra patient and then looked for something further down the line. But we're just drilling into 1 hour to show you, representing in real time what was actually happening within the candle. We had that push up and then we had the push down. So that's essentially what happened, and it was really quick. The news just kind of pull it up, and I think that's when people start FOMOing and getting a bit, oh my god, what's happening? We're just going to go fly up, etc., etc. But they're not aware of what's actually happening here, and then we actually continued. So structure first, news, everything else secondary, and then yeah. So I kind of saw this in hindsight as 1, 2, 3. More so, I was looking at it a little bit flatter, and I wasn't really bothered about anything else. So I saw this as the high. So it says, there could be something in here, whatever, but more so about how we actually react to this level. So we pushed up, and then also the push back down. We got the push down. Got a little bit later than I could have wanted, but it is what it is. Definitely could have caught something up here somewhere. Maybe it was a bit quick, but yeah. So then got tagged into the trade there, and then luckily it just pushed down. I left it on break even shortly after. We kind of, I believe it was roughly around about somewhere around about here. I left it around about break even, which I think was a good call anyway, because it could just create a larger, longer extended flag at that point. And I didn't want to be sitting into that price. So yeah, and then then we just continued, and especially with some other high impact news that obviously once again I have no clue about balance of trade. That came out, and it was forecasted to be positive news, but I don't know. But it was negative anyway. So anyway, I'm not a news expert. And yeah, we got that trade. So overall, it was a good trade. It was pretty cool. Yes, it's running. I mean, yeah, in terms of management, I mean, because of how tight I am, I mean, a manual close would make sense. But I think sometimes when you're seeing these sort of decision making times, it's not really about just manually closing everything. Sometimes just let it run, because on the other day I could have just been like, I'm going to be aggressive here, put the stop loss here, and then price does that, and it didn't come back up, or even like if I say here, I saw that pick, and I said, no, I'll put it right above, didn't come back. So it's the same situation down here. bit extra graphically, a little bit of room, but that's it. So if it comes up, it comes up. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at the end of the day, that's the trade. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll get on to the next one.